Welcome to the podcast, people.
Welcome, everybody. Is this how we're
All right,
starting it?
we're live. Um, what's new? Why am I yelling? I have a microphone.
No, the yelling's good. Get it all out.
Um,
Get the energy up.
we have TBT stuff, so people ask a lot, like, where do I want to play? Where can I play? What do I want to do? And just to give a short summary, the whole idea of this was like, I'm not good enough, so I want to get good enough. But because I'm not good enough now, like I'm not playing somewhere now. So people are like, oh, you should be playing 5-on-5. Where's your game tape or whatever? Okay, the point is like I'm crescendoing to an existence. So just a little reminder, because in that you take advantage of opportunities. Right now, I have a chance to play on a TBT team, which is the basketball tournament. It's on Fox this year. And I'm keeping it private as to what team that is, just because there's always logistics involved and things could fall through. I don't want to jinx myself, kind of. Because it would be tough if it didn't happen, just kind of psychologically. It would be a cool opportunity to do it. But regardless, I think it's something that is a cool go. TBT, hopefully get a play there and see where I stand, right? That's a big checkpoint, is to see where I stand. Will I play? I don't know. I don't know how good I am. So it's a great mystery. I'm confident in my ability, but I'm not stupid. And so I want to be a pro or be at the pro caliber. I don't need to be like the best pro player. Like there's differences. I think people see me and like, oh, are you going to try to score like 20 a game? No, because that means right now I could probably score 10 a game, which would make me right now a pro. I'm not trying to become an all-star. I'm trying to be qualified enough to become a professional. So that's important. So the TBT stuff is really cool. Play for $1 million, one and done tournament. Could be really short-lived, could be longer-lived. We could have some opportunities to film some stuff. It could be so short we don't film much at all. And then a pipe dream of mine of where I want to go would be Canada next year. I think Canada would be really cool. I don't know if I'm good enough, again, for that, but that's the goal, to get better. Just a cool goal to throw out there. But the CEBL has a short season in the summer. It would fit what I'm trying to accomplish with my family affairs, more so than trying to travel somewhere totally different. And it'd be close, and it's short enough. I think it's 2.5 months to 2 months, that it wouldn't be an insane commitment. It's good competition, but probably not the competition that's like, the G League and other levels, because people don't understand, like when it's the summer, people who play and get paid a lot of money don't want to play anymore. Like they don't want to do something that's not going to give a return on money. And so if you're playing as a job and you're making, 6 figures, any level of 6 figures, and you might want to go play in the summer, you have to ask yourself, like, if I get hurt, I cost myself a 6-figure job. Versus, yeah, that place might pay a little bit of money, even a lot of money short term. Let's say they pay 10 grand a month. Some people say it's a lot of money. Some basketball players might not say it's a lot of money, but let's say they pay 10 grand a month. It's only 2 months. That's a 20 grand risk for like 100 grand or more opportunity elsewhere. So when people see summer stuff, that's really important, because there is opportunity in those shorter seasons because of that. Same with like the TBT as well. I know players who don't want to play in it because it's like, well, I only get $1 million. I only get money if I win, and I don't want to spend my off season doing that. So it's an interesting, like, learning the ins and outs of basketball and opportunities that exist out there. And then because of that, the competition isn't like the infinitesimally highest, because if it was, it wouldn't be then. Little side talk, but yeah. So I wanted to share that with you guys, the updates of that. My goal is now training for that. And from there, we'll see where it goes. I don't have a perfect roadmap. If I knew exactly how things went, I would do it. So that's where we're at, Brennan.
Yeah, I think this summer is really exciting for you, Max. Like you just kind of laid out, you have a lot of opportunities, and you've been training hard for the last, what, 2 years almost now, year and a half?
Nah, it's been like, for the basketball part, it's more like 6 months. Be real.
Okay. So you've
For
been
like the
training hard
actual.
for.
No, it's less. It's January. I really said I was doing the basketball thing.
Okay. So more like 4 months, 4 or 5 months, maybe. Excited for the TBT play. I think that'll be something that's really interesting. Hopefully we'll get to document it and show everybody what you've been working towards. But I'm
Yeah, I
excited
talked
to kind
to
of
a
see how
local
you
person here about filming some stuff. And I think it's really important because I think social media is so goofy and people want to cultivate an audience that. So when you're on social media, I was talking to players about this and they have really cool stories. So one of the guys I work with last year worked at Target at 3 a.m. on the loading docks and they would come and train with me after. Just to put in perspective the type of work these guys put in. And he's now able to not have to work this off season because he makes now enough of a permanent job overseas, which is really cool. Because last off season he was trying to earn a spot. Now people want him, right? So he went from like wanting to the wanted, which is awesome for his career. But what I'm trying to get at is that when you realize like the level of, I don't want to call it grind, but yeah, maybe that's people say nowadays, grind, commitment, desire, maybe.
yeah, the dedication's impressive for sure.
Dedication is the word I'm looking for because that's implied that something like internalized. People gravitate towards that. You might say, Max, what are you talking about social media wise? Well, on social media, people love to showcase like totally fake stuff. So it's either like excessive grind or they cultivate envy. And they're like, oh, check out my fancy car, check out this. Versus the reality is his story is probably one of the more inspiring stories because it is simply relatable. And what on here I'm trying to share with you is like my story, and you can relate to it, you can root against me, you can root for me, but I don't want to glorify it in any way that it's not. I just want to show me doing it. And I do it in a sense twofold. One, obviously, is I want to do it. Like, but I find what these other players do to be very inspiring, for lack of better words, or motivational, or eye-opening, or just a cool part of life. And I'd be remiss if I didn't share what I did, because some people might think what I do is cool relative to them. And as someone who operates on social media, I can see that perspective that they don't see, the player themselves see. I was talking to him today about it. I'm like, man, it would have been so cool. Like if you had filmed yourself loading the docks in the morning at Target and then coming to work out with me. Like I didn't even, at the time, I didn't even register that I knew he was working in the morning. But that's such a cool, bit people have to do. And then when they get to the top, they just want to showcase the cars and everything. But reality is most people can't relate to that. Like no one can relate to, oh, maybe someone can, but who cares? Everyone has fancy cars when they're rich and made it. I want to see the guy who maybe might not make it or just, went from the really hard work to where he is now. And I want to root for that person or I want to watch that person. I don't need to root for them even. I just want to experience what they experience without the rose-colored, rose-tinted lenses so I can take some stuff away from it. And that's what I'm trying to do with a lot of these kind of interviews with you, podcasts, whatever the heck you want to call it, because I want people to hear it. And obviously, I'm not very good at filming it yet, but hopefully film more so you can see it. It's really tough to film this stuff because I rather play. I'm not going to walk around with a GoPro and film myself all day. I have a family and I have addresses on my fridge and things in my house I don't want to like give away totally. So but that's what I'm trying to share. That's why I want to take that minute to talk about it because those guys have really cool stories too.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to share with you guys and see where it goes. I don't know where it will go, but we're trying to capture stuff at the beginning versus like retrospectively trying like, oh, let's put something together.
Yeah, and I think being able to share the stories of the people you interact with is a huge plus too, and I like what you talked about with people relating to your story, and I think people like seeing people go through that adversity, and that does make someone want to root for you a little more, whether it's subconscious or not. But I think seeing that
I don't need them
relatability.
to root for me.
No. I'm not saying they need to root for you, but I do think that, like you said, it's more relatable. And I think people enjoy watching the journey and the growth. And they're able to apply it to their lives and find motivation within it for themselves.
Like my
which is,
favorite documentary of all time is Hoops Dream. Hoops.
Hoop Dreams is incredible.
Hoop
Book
Dreams?
and documentary.
Hoop Dreams.
Yeah, Hoop Dreams.
I think the reason why I loved it so much was the fact that it was made and captured real time in the moment, and it wasn't something like doctored up after. And
I mean that.
I watch this guy, and I don't know his name. I always forget it. And he like just like bikes across like different countries, like bikes across Africa, bikes across wherever. And it's just like him and like a GoPro, and he gets in like wild situations. They biked across India, and I don't like root for or against him, but somehow it's like I get an aspect. I think people are interesting. I get a real view of people. I think that's why people like Joe Rogan, because it's long enough form that you hear people be people again versus trying to push something on you.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do with this stuff. So that's my like hope with it. Now, whether it turns out to that, I don't know. At a minimum, I'm just going to post it on YouTube, and maybe some people take some stuff away from it.
No, and if anything, it's great content, and I don't know, it'll be a fun journey and something fun to watch. But to kind of get back to what the podcast is about this week, Max, you know, you've sent me some notes here about avoiding getting stale in your training. I don't know if you want to start transitioning over to your main
I'll cover
topic
some
you want to
stuff
discuss today.
because I had an ankle injury come up last week, and cool, I crowdsourced some information on social media, and people come and help me out. And I did a consultation with Dr. Michael Risher, and he did just like a consultation. I was in like the AutoZone parking lot. He's like, "Hey, FaceTime me. I'm picking up oil for my wife's car." And he like took me through some stuff, and it's really helped mitigate some of the pain. It's not perfect yet. It's been like a week since like large scale pain, and like it was really bad. I couldn't walk until like Monday. I was really beat up. Maybe even Tuesday. I was really bad, and it was really hurt. Not like an ankle sprain. It was pretty severe. I thought I had broke something in there. And then obviously I didn't. At least I hope, knock on wood, I didn't. And at least it doesn't hurt, so I don't care if it's broken. Whatever. Pains for people with careers. I only have one. So I want to make sure, like, I crowdsource it, which is cool. And then I want to make sure in the training process I don't just rush back. And we talked about this in the past, which is like dealing with injuries and stuff in my hip. And it's like projected outcomes. And so what I mean by that is I expect today to be sore because yesterday was the first day doing like live training. I don't expect it to be perfect. I don't expect it to be sore if I didn't do anything. That'd be like a big issue. And so projected soreness and stuff is important. But in that, and this is like the stale training discussion, that I was trying to rehab some of it without playing live competition, but mimicking live competition. And you'll see my video. It's it's not March. It's May 31st today. There's a video from yesterday, so May 30th. And I was doing I was chasing two balloons. I have two balloons, one balloon outside the key. We mentioned this last time. But the idea of it is if I try to run around and chase something with like competitive effort by myself, I just couldn't find a way to do it. Like, hey, run side to side as fast as you can, but make it unpredictable. Like that's, an impossible statement, because if I'm running side to side as fast as I can and I'm just doing it myself, well, I know what I'm doing. So by definition, it can't be unpredictable. It's simply predictable. And so by adding the balloons, we remove this staleness aspect of, the same shuffle drill, and we're adding some competition to it. Now, the same thing applies also to your training beyond that. Will's back in town, and with Will, we shoot in the morning, and in the afternoon, we have some semi-live stuff. We'll go a lot more live next week. But instead of shooting shots in certain positions, we find ways to make it more competitive, more fun, and small things like adjusting things that are less important just to give you a change is really important. So normally we work out in the morning, then we go shoot. Well, an option simply is shoot first, then work out after, or maybe do certain types of shooting drills that are more fun and more goofy, that maybe, are less traditional. And you only do that in 15% of the entire training session, but that 15% reignites some excitement. Maybe you play knockout. Maybe you do literally something that's kind of silly. Two-person knockout's funny. You don't do it like that. The way you would do two-person knockout is like if I shoot it and I miss it and the guy behind me, quote unquote, makes it and knocks me out, he gets a point, but we keep playing. So if you can how many times can you lap someone would be the knockout version, by the way, if you guys are curious how two-person knockout works, not just like one simple game and it's over. And other stuff like that. And you're like, well, Max, that's not going to make you better because it's like a silly game. Well, it might not. But the point is it'll make the rest of the training session more effective. And so while you might sacrifice a little bit to get a lot more in the long run, so removing the staleness of training. I mean, you've done that, Brendan, when you're playing. Gosh, we had Bob Roll, remember? The
I
legend
do.
himself.
Yeah.
High school
Bob
basketball.
would.
Brendan played was my point guard. Brendan also played in college basketball too, by the way. We had a coach named Bob Roll, and what did we do the first weekend practice on a Saturday? Every weekend from there out, by the way.
We played baseball. We literally played wiffle ball in the gym. Yeah, it was something
Yeah, we
totally
played
outside of the
wiffle
norm.
ball.
We played wiffle ball in the basketball gym. Got us thinking in different ways. It was obviously a chemistry builder too, in certain aspects of it. But it just got us thinking differently in a lot of different ways and how to be effective. We're working on hand-eye coordination that we would never be working on in, typical basketball training scenarios. And I to get your opinion on it, Max, what do you think was the best application of that, of those Saturdays? Like what did we get out of
It was
doing
just
that?
fun.
Yeah.
You didn't get anything out of it basketball wise, I don't think. What you got out of it was you don't have to do basketball.
Yeah,
Like
it
we
kept
shot a
things
couple
fresh when
shots. I
we
mean,
got back in. Yeah. I mean, we would come back into the next week of practice a little more refreshed for sure. It wasn't just that same monotonous grind. I think it
it
definitely
was like it
changed
was
things up.
fun. No one wants to be there on a weekend, right? Let's be real. You're in high school. I'm surprised we had practice on a Saturday, and we practiced. No one wants to be there, but we had to have it, and so we shot hoops for like 20 minutes. And we walked through an offensive set, and then we played wiffle ball for an hour. We all wore jerseys and stuff, and I always thought that was a really fun way to mix things up in a way that was purely fun. Like it wasn't trying to be this corny stuff. Like some coaches do really corny things like team building, and they'll do like, oh, we had one in college that was kind of dumb. It was like a questionnaire you had your teammate fill out and you filled out, and it was like kind of funny to read it in front of the group.
You guys
But it
did
wasn't really
surveys.
fun versus like just doing something. Yeah, we did something dumb like that. But it was just fun to do to play wiffle ball. And so I think there's a lot to be taken away with finding joy in your training. And that can be by taking time off. And some of my training, like intentionally taking the weekends off from basketball, has been important simply because it makes you want to play basketball come Monday versus, oh, on the weekend, I'm going to play basketball Sunday. You're constantly willing yourself to get out of bed versus, you want to be there. You wake up early to be excited to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's some easy ways you can add variability and some lack of staleness. I'm sure you felt that before in basketball as a whole, just some staleness. Make competition, right? Make things fun. Michael Jordan built his own enemies kind of deal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that
Find
kind
your
of
own
stuff is really
motivation for
helpful.
sure. For sure.
I think it's undervalued on the whole. I really do. And so when people also, like people, they kind of laugh at me like, oh, you film this stuff. Like part of it too is it kind of keeps me accountable in a way. Like, because it is kind of boring to go in the gym by yourself and just film. And so filming, to just work out. So filming myself, part of it, allows me to have something to strive for, to make afterwards. Like I'm making something out of this content versus if I just go in there and do it, I might not see any reward for like 7 to 8 months, ever, if ever. So at least I have something finite every day to complete versus this infinite grind. And that's part of what's nice about like the training vlogs and stuff, and even doing stuff like this, is it puts a little more mile markers along the journey than just having to be an endless trail.
Yeah, absolutely. And you probably get more of a sense of a reward, like you were just saying, a lot quicker than, grinding for a year straight and hoping that you're on that right track without being able to see that, hey, I'm hitting all these, like you call them, mile markers. I think that's important to keep yourself motivated, to keep yourself going, because your journey can get pretty stale, Max, if you weren't holding yourself accountable and finding ways to make it interesting. That's for sure.
Who's the most interesting coach you've ever been around? Like someone who made basketball fun and exciting.
Man, I would say Brandon Williams.
Put some
Copa.
respect on his name. What's What's
Copa.
he
We
Cope?
know this.
The king of
Copa,
all
we
the
love you. That's my guy. It's always been my guy. But yeah, Brandon's probably my favorite coach I've ever had. Just someone that always keeps things interesting. He keeps things competitive. Insanely good at motivating you while keeping it not so daunting and um,
he's
pressure
probably
filled.
one of the best coaches for youth I've ever seen. Just general like camps.
Oh,
That
100%. I
guy,
haven't seen anyone better than Brandon.
he could make his own tour, the Copa
Absolutely.
tour.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that right now. You go check him out. He's awesome, man. He's a legend. But he just like the energy he brings, and knowing that, I've always enjoyed, in respect to that, and I train people, try to bring some of my own level of that, not his, but to realize the players feed off of that. And I think it's important to respect that. I think he's the most enjoyable coach, just pure like
You're fun,
enjoyment.
man. Exactly. Like he makes you fall in love with basketball. So I remember coming back from college, really being pretty burnt out from playing and the sport itself. And I went and helped coach at Peter Diepenbrock's camps, who was our high school coach for a year. And Brandon was there coaching as he does. And he just made me fall back in love with it. Just those few 2 weeks I had with him just made me re-engage with basketball. It was, like you said, he's pretty special at doing that. And I feel very fortunate that I
Yeah,
got to be
he's
around.
in as a player and as a coach who's around him. You feed off of that in a positive fashion. Yeah, no, I want to keep it there. I'll keep it pretty short today. We'll try and do more of these in the future. Time wise is kind of tough, and we'll keep track with more of like I do some videos myself. I think, I can film when I can, and then when we get Brendan on here, we'll have a little more like full scale discussion. Because I do want to talk a little bit about basketball in the whole. I want to talk about obviously my training process and stuff, but things that come up as well. Because I would love to dive into like some of the transfer portal stuff, and I've had questions from athletes about basketball related things along this way, and so I want to share obviously my journey, but also provide some level of value behind just myself doing things to showcase, or not showcase, but to thank people, I guess, or whatever I can do to make this a little bit wider horizon than just upon the heliocentric view of me trying to be an old guy trying to play basketball.
I love it, Max, and I'm excited for your story and your journey. I think
All right, bro.
yeah,
I
it's
appreciate your
exciting.
NBA headband. It's an official NBA headband. It's from the league itself.
But it's not the one you tie in the back. They got to bring those back.
They don't allow them anymore.
I know they got to bring them back. Those were so
That's
dope.
straight from the league. It's 3 letters. That's been not in the
NBA
game,
Max,
thankfully.
bro. NBA Max.
All right, dude. That works for me. Peace out. Peace out, everyone.
Thanks, guys.